The rain came down hard enough to flatten the world. On the edge of the highway, where the roar of passing cars never fully stopped, a dark SUV slowed and pulled onto the shoulder. For a moment, its engine idled, warm and protected. Then the trunk opened. The dog was heavy, not just with the weight of her body, but with the lives inside her. Her fur was soaked through, streaked with mud and oil. When her paws touched the ground, she slipped, struggling to stand. She looked up once, eyes wide, searching. The man did not look back. He pushed her toward the embankment, into the wet tangle of thorns and weeds, and shut the trunk. The red lights disappeared into the rain. The sound of traffic swallowed everything else. Hope tried to follow. Her legs shook violently as she took a few steps into the brush, driven by the instinct to hide, to protect what she carried. Then pain tore through her abdomen. A contraction, sharp and unforgiving. She cried out and collapsed onto the mud, her breath coming fast and shallow. Cars passed. Headlights swept over her and moved on. She was alone. Not far away, beneath the concrete overpass, Robert walked with his head down, rain dripping from the brim of his old cap. His jacket was thin and smelled faintly of oil and rust. In one hand, he carried a small bag of cans, clinking softly with each step. It hadn't been a good day. Most weren't. His stomach cramped with hunger, but he kept moving. Stopping never made things better. Then he heard it, a sound so small it almost disappeared beneath the wind, a thin, broken whine. Robert slowed, his boots sinking into wet gravel. He listened. There it was again. Pain, stretched tight. He sighed, tired down to the bone. For a second, he considered walking on. The rain was cold. The night was long. Instead, he turned. The bushes clawed at his sleeves as he pushed through, thorns catching the fabric. He pulled out his flashlight and flicked it on. The beam wavered, then settled on the shape in the mud. The dog lay curled in on herself, sides heaving, eyes bright with fear. Her belly was round and low. Too low. "Oh," Robert whispered. He crouched beside her, not touching, letting her see him. Her body tensed, ready to run, but she couldn't. Another contraction hit, and she cried out a raw, helpless sound. "It's all right," he said softly. "I'm here. I won't leave." He didn't know if she understood the words, but she watched his face. Something in her gaze shifted. Not calm, not yet, but listening. Robert moved quickly after that. He left his bag of cans by the road and headed for the convenience store a few blocks away, rain soaking him to the skin. He emptied his pockets at the counter, coins, a few damp bills. "Milk," he said, "and bread. And do you have any old towels?" The cashier looked at the money, then at Robert's shaking hands. He nodded and disappeared into the back. When he returned, he slid a small bag across the counter. "Towels are free," he muttered, already turning away. Robert didn't argue. He never did. Back in the brush, the dog was panting hard. Robert knelt beside her and tore off a piece of bread, soaking it in milk. He held it out. "Easy," he murmured. She hesitated, then lapped weakly at the food. Her eyes never left his. The first puppy came soon after. Robert worked carefully, his hands steady despite the cold. He rubbed the tiny body with a towel until it squeaked, thin and furious. Life. He laughed once, breathless and surprised. 6 times, the storm paused long enough for a miracle. When it was over, the rain had softened to a steady whisper. The puppies slept in a huddled pile, small and warm against their mother's side. Robert found a plastic crate behind the store and lined it with towels. One by one, he lifted the puppies inside, then helped the exhausted dog to her feet. The walk back under the bridge was slow, painful, but they made it. In the dry space beneath the concrete, Robert spread out his cardboard and rags. The dog curled around her puppies, her breathing finally calm. Robert sat beside them, his back against the cold pillar, and closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he wasn't alone. Days turned into weeks. Robert shared what little food he found, always giving the best to the dog. She followed him everywhere, her tail thumping softly when he returned. He called her Hope, and the name fit like it had been waiting. The bridge didn't change. The world didn't soften. But something inside Robert did. Sometimes, when the puppies slept and the traffic hummed overhead, Hope rested her head on his knee. Robert would stroke her fur and smile, small and private. In a world that had forgotten them both, they had found each other, and that was enough.